I've always enjoyed visiting places where those artists I admire once lived, or the landscapes that inspired them. In particular, Paul Nash, whose one-time home in Rye is adorned with a plaque, or Whitnam clumps that inspired some of his most visionary paintings. I visited Cookham Village, where Stanley Spencer immortalised its streets and monuments and imbued them with a religious significance. And not forgetting Charleston Farmhouse, the country retreat to Vanessa Bell and Duncan Grant, members of the so-called Bloomsbury Group. I recently found a piece of footage in a documentary of the composer David Bedford, walking the Ridgeway Path, seeking inspiration for a work inspired by the path, the downs and the Uffington White Horse, entitled Song of the White Horse from 1978.
People were walking along it more than 10,000 years ago, even before the last ice age. Along its path lie a number of man-made monuments, perhaps the most striking of which is the White Horse of Uffington. Here I am on top of White Horse Hill. I'm standing just on top of the head of the horse. It really is an extraordinary object, a masterpiece of art by any standards. It's about 360 feet long. Nobody knows when it was made or who made it, and thus many theories have been advanced to explain it. For example, since it can be seen best from the air or from a long way away, that it was a landing beacon for flying saucers. It's also been suggested that King Alfred had it carved to celebrate a famous victory over the Danes in 871 at Ashdown, which is fairly close to here. Another idea advanced is that it isn't a horse, it's a dragon, and that in fact it's the dragon that St. George killed. And there's a little hill just down there where it's suggested that he killed the dragon with a white mark on the top where no grass will ever grow, which is where the blood was spilt out. But the most likely explanation, at least the one that's generally accepted, is that it was carved in the 1st century BC by a tribe of Celts who lived around here and was a tribal emblem, since a few coins have been found with a similarly stylized horse facing to the right. Although, of course, the horse could have been there a long time before that and could have been taken over, because it's so extraordinary, could have been taken over by the Celtic tribe when they arrived as a religious object.
Like Paul Nash, who photographed the chalk carving in 1937, David Bedford, in this documentary, had also visited this sacred site.
It's called Wayland's Smithy, although it isn't a smithy, nor has it any connection with Wayland. It is in fact a burial chamber. The bodies were discovered about halfway down this long barrow, which is about 160 feet long. It's incredibly old. It was built in the New Stone Age, Neolithic age, at the same time they were building Stonehenge and Avebury. Latest dating methods assign a date of around about 3000 BC, which means, in fact, that it's older than the pyramids in Egypt. It's called Wayland's Smithy from Anglo-Saxon times. Wayland was the smith of the Anglo-Saxon gods. The legend is that if you put a groat on this stone here and leave your horse overnight, when you come back the next day, it'll be reshod. There is a legend also associated with the White Horse of Uffington, which is that way, that Wayland made the shoes for the White Horse.
He is someone I became familiar with after hearing his orchestrated version of Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells, and his own musical interpretation of Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. I subsequently had the occasion to attend his concert at the Royal Albert Hall around 1975, where he gave a performance of his music inspired by Homer's The Odyssey. The documentary recorded Bedford visiting some of the sites around the White Horse and Wayland Smithy in 1978, and also included a scene where he descended the downs to visit Assassin's Stone, known as the Blowing Stone. This is a stone peppered with holes, but if one selects the correct hole and blows like a trumpet, the stone produces a booming sound. According to legend, this stone was used to alert King Alfred, whose camp was said to be on top of White Horse Hill, of the advancing Danes back in 871 AD. This was a site I too had visited and tried to elicit a warning call back in 1996.
On a good day, you can hear that noise for 3 or 4 miles. This is the Blowing Stone. It's just down the hill from the White Horse. Local legends associate it with King Alfred and his great battles with the Danes. The idea being, I suppose, that if you wanted to get the chaps together in a hurry, you gave an almighty blast on the Blowing Stone.
But in my walks over the downs, I saw no sign of King Alfred, nor his troops, nor evidence of his camp. But one day he still might return.